there's a bubble phase coming for the markets. There will be, we're still in a boom phase, but there will be a bubble phase, and that bubble phase will be glorious, and people will make a ton of money in it. But remember, when that's happening to you, that again, the large soprano has come on stage, and it's going to go vertical, and everybody's going to be saying Hosanna, and it will crash, and that's coming sometime in the next couple of 3 years.
Bitcoin is currently just under $95,000. Why is it not breaking above $100,000? What is it going to do next? What happens as well to the altcoins if and when Bitcoin breaks out to the upside? Well, we don't know if it will. Let's talk about it with Clem Chambers, founder of ANewFn. Welcome back, Clem. Good to see you.
Yeah, that's ANewFn.com, and we just opened our guest list. So if you want to get on the inside of that when we release our funky stuff.
Well, congrats on the new venture. We'll put the link down below, so follow ANewFn.com, link down below. We'll talk about some implications of Trump's new tariffs on the economy and markets as well. But Bitcoin first, you told me offline, you are no longer super bullish. You have been since basically the start of our interviews together. I've known you for a while. And take a look at my screen here. Bitcoin has had a tremendous run, up about 122% year to date. It's broken off of its highs from just a week ago. Since Trump won the election, it rallied up to a high of $99,000. People were just anticipating the 100K USD mark. Didn't happen. Strong resistance around 99,000, and now it's broken down to the downside. Why are you not bullish anymore?
Well, I like things when they're cheap and juicy and, ready to go to rock. And when it was down in, 20,000, that was very appealing to me. And now it's up at 100,000, which is where I thought it was going to go and where we'd be speaking about this for some time. And I actually think it will probably go to 115, maybe 120. Yeah. And if, when the lid comes off, it might go to 150. It might be up there for like 7 minutes before it backs down to 130 or whatever. Mm-hmm. This is the part of it's no longer cheap. And this is the part of it's near the top now. So we are at the top. And I always tend to sell early because, if you buy near the bottom and you sell near the top, you will do it very, very well. And that's my strategy. We're now near the top. This is no longer an appealing price for someone to get in at because it's going to, at some point in, 6 months, a year, it's going to be down to 60,000 again. And I don't want to be sat in front of my screen watching for a 10,000 Bitcoin dollar move. I don't care. I'm in the 20s. And I'm out in the 90s. I mean, I literally got out on Sunday. I think it was 97 or 98. And I've still got my ETH because I think that will potentially run on. And it's much more not expensive as Bitcoin is. So I think that's potentially got legs. But now, you sit on a thumping great profit. Why would you sweat the last few percent? And, that's my attitude. Now, leave some on the table for somebody else. If everybody wants to sell, I want to buy. If everybody wants to buy, I want to sell. And this is that moment when everyone's going, oh, it's going to 1 million, billion, trillion. Oh, it's great. It's going to a billion. And that's when you want to say, yeah, have some of mine. Yeah. You really do need some of my Bitcoin now. Yes, that's right. Take my Bitcoin. Give me that fiat. Who needs that?
Yeah. You say it's expensive. I mean, the terms cheap and expensive, I guess, are relative to what you believe is a fair value. I've talked to people who literally think that anything under $1 million is considered undervalued. I take it you're not in that camp. And so
I love that when people say that, because that means it's the end. That is exactly the sign that I look for. When people go, it's gone to 1 million now, I go, yeah, have it off me. You can have it for 100 grand. Why don't you take that? Yeah, see you later. And the other thing I look for is when it's on the mainstream main news. And it says, oh, today, Bitcoin hit blah, 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 blah. And everyone's going crazy about it. Isn't it wonderful? Oh, look, there's some people that have made a lot of money. That is also the top. And, we are in that zone right now. It's just it's not as if Bitcoin doesn't do it every 4 years, like clockwork.
Yeah.
I've been saying that. It's a 4-year cycle. And everyone goes, you're mad. What are you talking about? Well, it's a halving cycle. The supply halves. And the price doubles. So if you take these peaks and you divide them by 2 every 4 years, you'll see the pattern. All right. The only question there has been recently is that sideways channel that you're showing, was that the top? Because that was 75,000. You could say the previous top was actually maybe 35 because the previous top was 18,000. And you could do all that magic. So the answer was that the top? And I was saying, just hang on in there, put your stop loss in when you lose your nerve. If it breaks out through the top of that, it will go mental. And I said that in Forbes a few weeks ago. You can go to Forbes and make sure that I haven't been predicting the past. I actually did say it before it happened. You see all my little squiggles on my little chart saying it's going to go here now and it's going to go there. It's all in the record. And now, having been a bull since the bottom, effectively, on your show and others, I'm going, oh, well, we're kind of there now.
Are you enjoying the video so far? Well, let me tell you about how you too can come up with viral video ideas, which from my personal experience, I can tell you is one of the hardest parts of being a YouTuber is coming up with the idea. Well, that's where today's sponsor comes in, 1of10. It helps YouTubers like me find their next big idea, titles, and thumbnails in just a few seconds. Take your channel to the next level with 1of10 idea generator, competitor tracker, and millions of viral videos, saving you hours of research. It's been rated the #1 must-have tool for any creator by some of the world's top YouTubers, and it's only $49 a month. Click the link in the description down below and use a code DL70 for 70% off, or scan the QR code here to get started this Black Friday weekend only. How do you feel now versus how you felt in October 2021 or even April 2021 when it hit its first peak after 2017?
I was out around 40,000 last time around. And, that was because the previous high was 20. So I went to 40 and I thought, thank you very much. Goodbye. I'd bought in at 4,000 or something ridiculous, whatever the low was beforehand, because I was tracking this 4-year cycle, which has been on forever. And anybody that's really been knocking around crypto and Bitcoin long enough will go, yeah, 4-year cycle, halving cycle, all that good stuff. And you just trade that up like a rocket, down like a rock, up like a rocket, down like a rock, half supply, double price. It's that brain dead. And I'll be saying it's that brain dead for, well, good. 3 cycles now, so getting on for 8 to 12 years. So, and it's done it again. Yeah. No, if you look at the previous high, you have a special event there, and that special event, the second it crashed and it went up again and got past the previous high. Yeah. And what happened there was that Afghanistan happened there. And there's a whole load of Afghanis who'd got huge sums of money out of the Americans to fight the Taliban that were heading for the airport with a pocket full of Bitcoin, or were buying Bitcoin with their dollar bills that they couldn't get on the helicopter, like the minister that left 5 million on the tarmac. Yeah. And that's what set Bitcoin going up there. And obviously when that went through the system, the flight capital of Bitcoin, a use case, ran its course in Afghanistan. Down it came like a rock again. And up like a rocket. You see the previous rocket back in 2018. See, that's now double that. You got 40,000. Now double that. You've got 80,000, haven't you?
Okay.
So it's simple. There's no more magic to that. Now you could say, well, 20,000. Well, what about the high of the previous cycle? That was 60,000. Well, what's 60 times 2? Oh, funny enough, it's 120. And that's roughly speaking where I think it's going to go.
Okay,
but now it's at 100. Yeah. Now it's 100. And I'm buying down in the bowels of the previous crash. Why am I going to sweat that? I could, why be greedy?
Yeah,
get out with your sack of cash.
I understand your logic. Let's draw a trend line from
keep going. It's that simple. It really is. And you can even plug it in the bottom, and you can even make a nice channel for that if you wish. But the thing about Bitcoin, which makes it different from equities, is it's still a pretty primitive market. It's still inhabited by lots of denizens that wouldn't know which way they're up. That they've been as they got into this market and they've done well and they've been thrown around and they've had rock and roll for however many years they've been in it. They're not market, stalwarts. They haven't been, trading Standard Oil in 1910 like me. They're all novices, like the Robin Hood crowd, right? So they don't really, it's not an efficient market. So it does this simple stuff because it's basically primitive and people aren't preempting it. And, so I've either been incredibly lucky the last few years by being almost exactly right, or I'm right. And here we are again. It's what I said it would happen, and it's happened. And I'm now not saying it's going to a million, billion, trillion. No, hang on in there, millions and billions. I'm saying, well, it's near the top now.
What
The top could be 150, but I think that's stretching it.
Right. So I mean, we're trading within a band here. I mean, there's a standard deviation we have to observe. I understand that. What would be a reasonable level of correction for you before you think to yourself it's cheap again?
Well, funny enough, you can see that from the past, right? So it
Mm.
went up. It went up to say 60, and it came down to 20.
Yeah.
So it got up to 120, and it come down to 40 or 60.
So 50% correction in 2020 after 2021's peak, and I think about the same after 2017. Let's take a look here. Uh,
It's funny, Dave, because even the patterns are the same. Even in the crash, you can
well, it's
see the
about
same
more 82.
things playing out. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
see the same pattern playing out because it's all been driven by a blockchain, which is driven by robots.
It's
And
interesting
and
because the last correction was 50% down versus 80% in 2018. It just looks like the cycle lows are getting a little bit higher. If
yeah,
you were to
yeah.
extrapolate, you would say that there's less volatility now. Perhaps it's only going to be down, well, 80 to 50, maybe
You can
30%, 35.
you can split the atom and you can make those difficult calls and get them right and wrong. You can get the
Mm.
bottom wrong. I thought it would go down to 12. It went to 18. Yeah. So I didn't get
Yeah.
it at 12.
Yeah.
I got my crypto in and around the 20 levels. Yeah. So yes. And you could say, well, as crypto goes more into the mainstream, blah, 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 you can write all sorts of complicated and curly narratives. And, you could do that. But, when I was a kid, I was about 10. I was taught by my father about the markets. He said, all you got to do is get in at the bottom. Yeah. When it's going to go up a lot. And when it's gone up a lot and it starts thrashing around, you don't care because you got in so low, you've made so much money, that's just irrelevant. And then you get out.
Yeah.
I thought as a 10-year-old, well, that can't be right. My
You,
dad
you,
must be an idiot. And then when I got to be 40, I realized he was totally right.
well,
He
you know
caught up
what?
in the meantime.
You know what's another observation, right? If you just draw a trend line here from the 2017 high, that was roughly the trough of the 2022 low, right?
Yeah, you can do all this clever stuff and you can be right for the wrong reason and you can be wrong for the right reason. You can be right for the right reason.
Well,
But the
does
point
it
is
make
it's a
sense that
difficult thing.
yeah? Does it make
No,
sense to you that the new low could be the last high 66,000, 67,000?
you see, I don't look at it like that. You see, if you
Mm.
overstress this stuff, it gets very difficult.
Mm.
Yeah. If you want to predict it to the nearest 5,000, 10,000, it's very difficult. In 2 years' time, it'll be at the bottom, and you should DCA into that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then suddenly, right around the time of the halvening or there and abouts, it will kick off again if something terrible hasn't happened to Bitcoin in the meantime. And it will double and it will probably go to, 200 or 220 or 190 or 250. So all you've got to do is just sit there and you go, oh, it's near the top now. Oh, well, I've got these huge profits. Do I really want to be waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning looking at the price? I think I'll say goodbye. Say goodbye. And then 2 years later, you go, oh, yeah, it's kind of like 60,000 now. I think I'll buy some now. I'll buy a little more now. Oh, it's 55. Oh, I think I'll buy a little bit more now. Oh, it's 40. I quite like the flavour of that. I'll have a bit more than normal. Oh, and then it goes
Yeah.
by and it doesn't go your way and it ticks around. And, the month that you're expected to go up, it doesn't go up. But all the halvenings happen. It still hasn't gone up. The halvening, oh, it's going now. Oh, look. Oh, it's on its way. And then you're on another 4 year cycle. It's the 4 year cycle. Just, and then you're not waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning in a sweat, worrying about the fact that you've put the kids' school fees into the market. You don't mind that you're going to miss 15% of the top. You're not going to be sat there glued to the pixel. Is it the top? Is it the top? Ah, 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 ah. No, you've gone. You've gone.
Why is it that there seems to be less interest now than before? I mean, I'm just using this as one metric. You can use several, right? Google Trends worldwide for the search term Bitcoin. peaked around November 10th this year, but nowhere near as much interest as the last bull cycle. Where did all the interest go
If
this time?
if you want to get philosophical about it, if you want me to come over like a guru, it's very simple. It starts out as C to C, consumer to consumer,
Mhm.
right? And then businesses go, oh, I can make money here. What's going on? Let's be getting on that. And it goes B to C. Okay. And other businesses goes, oh, I'm missing out here. And it goes B to B. Right. And then ultimately the government goes, well, stop all this. It's naughty. You're doing things and making money without me taxing you. Oh, I want to get involved now. And it goes B to G. But when
Mhm.
it's B to B, the C don't care so much. Yeah. When everybody was asking anybody, it's a football match and there's some guy that scored a goal. And after somebody asked him, how did it feel to score a goal? Someone would say, oh, hello, Mr. Ronaldo. What do you think of Bitcoin? Remember those days? That's about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Every conference, didn't matter what it was about. It could be about saving the polar bears. The second question would be, so what do you think about Bitcoin? Well,
Yeah.
that was the C to C land. That was the breakout of it as an asset, and it was a pretty much a consumer to consumer model, and the consumers cared so much. And now it's a B to B model. It's all these institutions. I mean, half of them should be in an institution, but it's not the consumer that's the focus. It's the businesses, right? And you will have noticed that it's now going B to G. Business to government comes out. Oh, we need to have a strategic reserve for this now. Oh, we need to make this a thing. We should have our own one. We should have a set of acronyms that is like the Bitcoin because we're government and we want a slice of this. So that means that your C's get pushed out and lose interest because now it's all these corporate types and KYC and AML. And oh, stop that! It's naughty. We're going to ban that now. Oh no, we're not. We're not going to. We're going to unban it now. We're going to throw some people in jail. Oh, we're going to actually. Where did you get your crypto from? And consumer goes, oh no, where's the fun gone?
Yeah.
Oh, the fun's gone. Oh no, we do something else that's fun.
Well, a lot of people lost a lot of money in the last cycle when they were not prepared for this. I'm not even talking about 2017. I'm talking about the last time. It's possible that those people got burned. They don't want to get back in again.
You should have read my articles. I mean, it's not like it's complicated. Look, the big use case for crypto right now is pure and simple gambling. People love to gamble, even though they know they're going to lose. They love it. They absolutely love it. Vegas is full of people pouring their money down the drain, right? So if you can sit at home and pour your money down the drain, that's even better. Although you don't get free cocktails. So gambling is a use case for crypto for sure. And whatever you think about gambling, it's a game that is enjoyed, especially by the new generation of speculators. That's what they call gamblers in the market. The Robin Hood crew. The reason why markets like the TSXV and the AIM market in the UK are dead as doornails is because the next generation of gamblers, investors, are in crypto, and they killed all the last the last generation, and they were waiting to be replenished by another generation of people that like to gamble. And well, they're not in equities anymore. They've gone to crypto, and there they are gambling on crazy stuff and loving it.
Let's take a look at how it's done relative to the stock market in recent times. I mean, as you know, it's Bitcoin's been correlated with the NASDAQ. Let me remove these trend lines. We have here 6 months, pretty close relationship in the last month. Yeah, same story here. It doesn't look like it's
I
acting
think
as
you're
its
pushing
own
that
asset
last
class
chart.
yet. Yeah, it's just following the stock market, right? Still.
Well, yeah, I mean, correlation isn't causation when what causes these things to do similar stuff is something else. The something else is Fed liquidity.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's what the Fed gets up to try to steer America away from inflation, but away from bankruptcy at the same time. That
Hmm.
influences these things. So, when they do a twist on the yield curve, it goes into markets. And it just doesn't go into equities, which was the original plan. It goes into crypto too, because they're all connected up. I mean, when you start to make a ETF, a stock that is a Bitcoin equity, you link the two together, and therefore it becomes a correlated asset. And the absolute holy grail of investment portfolio theory and hedge funds, etc., is to get uncorrelated assets. So you can invest in the best ones of these uncorrelated assets. So when one blows up and rips your shirt off, another one's putting it back on your back again. But the trouble is, it doesn't take much to start tying these things together and making them all correlate again. And crypto does correlate with money flow, with money supply. I mean, it's one of the reasons it took off like it did back in the day was banks were so controlling of money supply because they were, had gone 20 years of hating inflation with a
Yeah,
vengeance. There wasn't enough money out there. So
absolutely. This is the M2 money supply. You're right. It's expanded. This was unlimited QE here. That's what happened post COVID, and then starting to tick back up the money supply,
well, there's
money
more.
M2 money stock, and then that's yeah.
There's even more to it than that, David, because it's things like the yield curve. It's
Yes.
where is the monetizing bonds in an age rate. So you can pull. See, the Fed pulls all sorts of levers that they don't even tell you about that will have positive or negative effects on the economy, and they wouldn't tell you anyway because the moment everybody knows what they're up to, they'll be chasing them, won't they? But you can actually still see what they're up to by looking at the reverse repo and looking at their balance sheet. And as I said on your show 6 months ago, they're not going to do anything dramatic until the election's over, and you can see them slowing, lowering, draining money out of the market in the reverse repo, for example. But yeah, it's all linked into crypto, but crypto's had its 4-year run. Well, not had it. It's at the end. The very large soprano is on stage. She ain't singing yet, but the music's going to start in the not too distant future. And I'm not a crypto bear that's been on your show for the last umpty whatever saying how bad it is. I've been saying it's going up. Well, it's gone up now, and now
Yes.
it's going to go down.
Well, I bring up this. I'm going to touch on yields in just a minute because you brought it up. I bring up this Bitcoin versus stock market chart because I wanted to show you this historical correlation. I know correlation does not mean causation, but do you think that the stock market is also topping then if you believe the Bitcoin is topping?
I think, and I'm going to be very controversial here. However, not because I know a lot of your viewers are gold people. I think that there's a bubble phase coming for the markets. There will be. We're still in a boom phase, but there will be a bubble phase, and that bubble phase will be glorious, and people will make a ton of money in it. But remember, when that's happening to you, that again, the large soprano has come on stage. There will be a bubble phase in the markets, and it's going to go vertical, and everybody's going to be saying Hosanna, and it will crash. And that's coming sometime in the next couple of years, couple of 3 years. But you've got to watch out for it. I don't know the timing on that.
Sure.
I haven't got that many crystal balls, but it is coming, and we're going to get that NASDAQ bubble moment for 6 months, and that will be something to bear in mind when you're counting your profits and thinking how clever you are.
Well, how does one define a bubble these days? Because the S&P 500 PE is already higher than it was in 2008, 2007.
It's a chart, okay, and it's the same chart. If you put the Bitcoin chart back up again and you squeeze it
Yeah.
over the last say 6 years, you'll see what it looks like.
Right. So that's
So you'll see boom bubble bust, and it. I think you might want to get the IXIC out off
all right. Let's
there.
get that out.
Yeah, now squeeze it. If you can squeeze it maybe back another couple of more years, can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That'll work. Now, there you go. You can see 3 of them there. That's all you
Yeah.
got to know. Now, if you looked at that tiny little blip down in 2014, it looked very similar, but it's on a different scale. I
It's
wouldn't bother.
interesting.
It's fiddly to go back there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
was gonna.
that's if you look at the Nasdaq, it'll look the same
Mhm.
back in 2000, for example, and it'll probably look the same now. It's that fish hook, and you can see if you look at the fish hook that is Bitcoin. After it gets up to 115, it's going to look complete. It's going to look like it's arrived at that final moment. And that's really all I'm saying, because and it's not as if that's a revolutionary insight. I mean, you will see that chart over and over and over again. I'm sure if you could get one of tulip bulbs, it will be the same shape too.
If you show it
Uh,
in the log scale, it actually looks like the
no,
volatility
no,
is
no,
no,
don't
don't
look
you,
at
you
log
don't like doing
scales.
that?
Don't look at log scales. If you start, well, actually, it's a very interesting thing. You've just sent me a sell order because when people start talking about log things in the log scale, that's when it's all over. I remember I was in the dot com and I was at some, I was in a fund manager and there was this young MBA person there, and she said, "Oh, and look at this on a log scale." And I said, "Well, if it carries on going in that direction on a log scale, the Earth's going to be burnt to a crisp. It's just going to be, the whole world will have to be burned into combustion, because you're talking about logarithmic growth here,
Yeah.
which is, nothing
I
can grow for long at a logarithmic scale, not even pondweed.
if you just if you just notice the growth in the last three cycles, okay? So the first cycle, and the second cycle, and then now we're at the third bull cycle since 2012, okay? It just looks like every single time, if you chart it on a log scale, which I know you don't like right now, it looks like the derivative, the first derivative, right, is slowing. It's the slope is not as steep. It's flattening. So
Times two, David, times two.
yeah,
Halvening, half the supply, double the price. So
yeah,
a log is
makes
10x.
sense. It
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. It's just going forward, we're not going to see the same magnitude of growth as before. Can we make
Oh,
that
I mean, I
argument?
mean that is one of the things that puts me off hanging on in there. It's
Yeah.
just like, if you get it at 3,000, you get out at 38. I mean, it's not 10xing from here, not in the next 3 months, and it will fall back. And then you buy some, and then you'll probably get another 3 or 4x. And thank you very much. I'll do that all day long, or rather all year, all 4 year cycle long. Who
Right.
wouldn't? I mean, it's just that, a lot of people have got rich quick in crypto and got poor fast as well. But those days of $1,000 Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and it being 30,000, those 10x's and 20x's and 30x's, we're not going to be seeing that in Bitcoin or in anything else. Maybe down in crazy meme coin land, which is another signal that we're at the end of the cycle.
Well, what's going on with the altcoins now? Ethereum. Well, first of all, before we talk about ETH, let me show you the Bitcoin uh dominance chart, just so you know where I'm coming from here. So BTC.D. Let's get rid of this. Let me just do BTC.D. The dominance level has been rising. It's fallen a bit in the last week, from 62, 60, yeah, 61.5, almost 62 is the top. And then there's a huge surge in altcoins over the last week. So we'll talk about altcoins just now. But this
Well,
this drop
I,
in
I would I
dominance,
would change your nomenclature here. What
yeah.
is going on is not altcoins, it's meme coins. That is
Ah,
where the big action is. And
okay.
that's sort of like, as you might say, a third derivative. Yeah. So you've got maybe even the fourth, but you've got big, boring old coins kind of, being amusing, acting more like equities in terms of returns. And then you've got the what was called the altcoins, and they're not really going anywhere. And then you've got these meme coins that do go up 10x or 100x. And that is what people are in crypto for. And that's where the action is. And that is like the altcoins were last cycle. That is the very large singing lady coming on stage. That is the end of the cycle when those kind of things go mad and people make a 25x in 3 days. But that's the end of the cycle, and that's straight out playing a fruit machine. And yes, it was 20 million market cap when it came out yesterday on pump.fun. Oh, now it's 300 million. And who's doing it? Oh, we don't know. And what's it about? Who cares? And that is the end of the crypto run in all these things. Well, certainly the last time round, and probably the time before that, if you wanted to look at it like that. But
Hmm.
it's not altcoins, it's meme coins, it's on
Yeah.
Solana, it's pump.fun, and it is just straight gambling where the people who are on the other side of the table are there to take your money.
This is
as
beat.
quickly as
This
possible.
is Bitcoin plus ETH market cap as a percentage of total market cap. So ETH is not contributing. ETH is just lagging, by the way. We'll talk about meme coins in just a minute, but I want to bring up the second largest coin. So that, in the past cycle when Bitcoin, remember 4 years ago, people were talking about ETH flipping Bitcoin. I bring up this chart because, if this were 4 years ago, Bitcoin's dominance going down probably meant ETH was going up, but that just is not happening here, as this chart shows. If you just
So
pull up, yes,
just to show you what a genius I'm not, I've played this run in ETH, which is pretty good if you can pick it up at sort of 1,000, 1,200.
sure.
And so I'm not unhappy, but I thought ETH would probably run a bit faster than BTC, and I've been wrong. And I've still got that because I think at the end of the run, Bitcoin will stop going and people will go, right, it's Ethereum now. And for a few weeks, it's just a total speculation. It will run for a bit and then I'll be gone in that as well. So if you look at the previous cycle, you put Ethereum into it, you'll see that Ethereum ran on after Bitcoin peaked. I'm not sure whether it's that last cycle or the one before, but you'll see it when you put it on there.
Yeah, let's put both of these. So
And that was
Bitcoin is
that.
now
There
the
you go.
purple line.
There you see it. You see that spike at the first peak. Not that
Yeah,
one. That one there. You see how it ran on.
yeah.
So Bitcoin peaked off and then Ethereum shot up. I'm
Hmm.
kind of playing that, but it's just the sort of game that somebody's a bit bored of life is playing, and that is. And I've got Ethereum, but the thing is, the trouble with coins that are not proof of work is what they are is proof of life. And there's all these human beings mucking around trying to, be clever and kind of spoiling the picture. No one's going to change Bitcoin without the vast difficulty. No one's going to be in there saying, "Oh, we're going to get Bitcoin to do this instead." Oh, we're going to change the program. We're going to add. There's going to be another. We're going to shard this, and we're going
Yeah.
to flip that. And that is incredibly risky when they do that. So that actually, in my opinion, human beings being in control of cryptos debases them. And I think you're seeing that now because there ain't no Satoshi Nakamoto to say, "I've changed my mind about how we should do this." And we're
Right.
going to do it now. And there is a whole load of people running coins that suddenly say, "Oh, we're going to change the name now. Oh, we're going to make a new token that's called Fred." And it's like, you don't get that with Bitcoin.
Well, so what is the use case of ETH now that we have Solana, that meme coins are being built on, now that we have, there's this battle between ETH and Cardano. What is going on now? It's lagging behind Bitcoin. Didn't do that
Well,
last cycle.
ETH, like most of these things in this new reality, it's all about brand. And ETH has got a fabulous brand, and Bitcoin's got the best of them all. Okay. And ETH is kind of like, I mean, Bitcoin is a ledger. Ethereum is a distributed computer, decentralized computer. That's the idea. So it can compute. You can, throw it some money or its own money and it will do some computation. It's a not very powerful computer spread around the place. And the fact it's decentralized and anybody and permissionless and all that good old crypto gobbledygook. Well, it's not gobbledygook, but you know what I mean. It's a internet computer
Mhm.
and it's got the brand and it's got a, skinny genius running it and it's done brilliantly. So whether the geniuses behind Ethereum can keep playing a clever hand and not make a mistake and not do a slip up, well, that's to be seen. And Solana, that's the cool kiddie equivalent, and that's the competition, and it is more spicy and it's more wild, crazy, and young crypto kitty compatible, and therefore it's gaming ground, and it's cheaper, and it's got benefits and all that good stuff. But it's mainly it's got that spice that the crypto denizens love. It's got that pop. It's got that zing. It's building up a brand. It's going from Ethereum is jazz, Solana's rock and roll, and that's why it's catching up because it is got what the people that play this game wish to have. It's got that. It's got all the flashing lights and ringing bells.
All right, so here's Solana. Solana, interestingly, has followed Bitcoin to the T. Basically, if I were to overlay Bitcoin versus Solana in the same percentage scale, you'll see that Bitcoin year to date. I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about since January to this year. Solana's up 131%, Bitcoin's up 114%. Slight outperformance, but very close correlation.
Yeah, you can see that. Well, that is following the other one, and Ethereum isn't.
Yeah.
because they keep being they keep changing everything, and not necessarily in a good way, and therefore they are detaching because they're not riding the Bitcoin wave, the crypto wave by just saying, "Isn't it great? Aren't we groovy? Let's have a party. Let's do wild, crazy things." They are, why don't we make gas more for this, and why don't we do a server that does that, and why don't we
Right.
do a bit of sharding here? And it's all like, oh yeah, really? Oh my, you get the risk without the excitement. So that's
Yeah.
lagging with Ethereum, which is a shame because I've got a lot of it.
So Solana is primarily what now? A meme coin application?
No, it's an Ethereum. There's loads of Ethereum alikes, and Ethereum would say, "Well, we're the fundamental, we're the basement of all this, and everybody else is building, applications on top." Because if you want to do NFTs, go off and use this chain, and it all will back out to us because we're the spine of this whole thing. Well, at some point, the people that are doing that thing say, "No, no, we're the spine. You're just yesterday's people. We don't need you." You need us now. And so there's always going to be this conflict between what's called level one and level two.
Mhm.
And the level twos can become level one. And Solana is basically becoming a level one. It is a level one, might as well be a level. It's the same thing. And therefore, rather than Solana calling ETH Sir, it gets to the state where it's first name terms. And it's pretty soon, if Solana keeps pulling ahead, it will be Ethereum
Right.
will have to call Solana Sir.
I just want to go back to the BTC dominance chart one more time. This drop in dominance you mentioned is because of meme coins rising. Does this drop in dominance signal a return of the retail audience for you? Is this the beginning of altcoin season for you?
Um, Altcoins, I'm not. I'm just really not interested in them because they're old and they're boring, and also most of them are were up to very recently, and probably still are
Yeah.
worried about being hauled to jail by the SEC. So really the altcoins, the development, something new out there apart from this new meme coin stuff that's kind of exploded in a dark corner. Yeah, because the jeopardy from the regulators all around the world is so great, it's basically choked off so much new development.
Yeah.
And now that Mr. Trump is in, now that the SEC are probably going to have to, kowtow, you could see a real a flowering of all these second, third, and fourth line opportunities, which are massive. I mean, the opportunity of blockchain and crypto is gigantic. But if you have the regulator trying to strangle you every time you do anything, it just chills the whole environment.
Yeah. And
And
you
the
have things
environment
like
has been chilled.
Dogecoin just
Oh,
skyrocketing.
I don't think anyone needs an explanation of that.
Right. Yeah. There's just that's an example. Perhaps the fact that Bitcoin isn't able to breach 100K is because people are rotating capital into meme coins.
Well, you could say that, but if you half supply and you maintain demand,
Hmm.
you're going to get a major rise. And every 4 years they do it, and every 4 years, like clockwork, it does that. You see, I'm not a great searcher of narrative. Oh, who did that and who did? I mean, yes, Dogecoin, SpaceX, Elon Musk coin. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that is going to kind of bit of narrative going on in there. But once you get off that obvious thing and you get into the weeds,
Hmm.
it's they're all following Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's being Bitcoin because it's going to do that. The only thing that could have broken that picture was if the Democrats had got in and they just basically continued to shut it down and finish that process off and made Bitcoin and crypto basically illegal.
All right. I
And
want
they didn't do choke point two. They haven't been able to get away with choke point two. And now Trump's in, and Bitcoin and crypto got 4 years to flourish. Not necessarily as prices, but as businesses, as technology, and that might give crypto the ability to break out, and actually the genie may actually be out of the bottle permanently.
All right. I want to finish off on talking about tariffs. So take a look at this article here. You're based in Europe right now,
Uh-huh.
and the auto sector in Europe is huge, as you know. Automaker shares fall as Trump threatens 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada. I won't read the rest of the article, but the issue here is that a lot of parts come from Mexico. And so if you're slapping on a 25% tariff that goes through, and a lot of Mercedes, for example, has plants in Alabama, right? The parts are going to be coming from Mexico. Supposedly, they're going to be more expensive. Anyway, car companies don't like this. What's your take? What do tariffs mean for the European economy where you live? How do Europeans feel about this? The other argument is that China is going to cooperate more with Europe. If, let's say, the Chinese tariffs on China are going to ramp up, let's suppose they do. Recently, we're getting evidence that it's not, but anyway, let's suppose it does. Well, one option is for China to cooperate more with Europe and find new trading partners within Europe. So, how do you feel overall?
I, Again, I'd like to step back far away from this. I hope Mr. Trump has had a good 4 years to work out how he's going to do it right this time. Because last time he had a chance and he was tied down like Gulliver by the Lilliputians, and even though he had a load of interesting and potentially good ideas, he didn't get to execute them. Now it's a question of whether he's worked out how to get good policies through the system, because the overriding basement problem with the West, the first world, is that it is absolutely bogged down by government and the weight of government and the weight of regulation and the weight of taxation and the levels of lack of efficiency and competence that governments have by their very nature has made the West uncompetitive. And, like them or not, China is incredibly competitive and they have no fear. They have no remorse. They do not stop. And, you are not going to win against that unless you change your very basic system dynamic and let your business people, go for it. So, if you look at Europe, for example, they've got the same problem as America and Britain. They've got these big governments inventing rules every 10 minutes, never making them clear what you can and can't do, bogging everything down with KYC and AML and you name it. And you just can't compete with Asia under that. So, if Trump has to do some amazing maneuvers to break that vicious circle. And, he's starting out by scaring everyone to death, which is, a business tactic, I suppose. And it's the media is claiming that he's getting traction on it. And, let's hope he can pull off some sanity out there in our economies and do what, it's happened before. Reagan and Thatcher did it in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And they were renegades. And, maybe this is that cycle going to happen again. And I hope so, because if not, there's probably not going to be another chance. If the Democrats had got in, they would have killed off crypto. That would be that for that whole technological industry that offers so much benefit. They would have killed it. And they was apparently, allegedly, they were going to kill AI as well, which would have been existential disaster.
That doesn't seem to be happening now, but we'll keep tabs on this. Plenty more to discuss as new tariffs unfold. Thank you very much, Clem, for joining the show. Where can we learn more from your new venture?
Well, you can go to ANewFn.com and get your name down on the guest list and be in that small group of people that get to all good stuff first. You can read my stuff in Forbes. You can see my stuff on your channel relatively regularly. And, I'd like to say that I don't think many people realize just the transformation to the creation of wealth that AI is going to bring. Mm-hmm. It's going to absolutely take the lid off a lot of potential and enable it to run. And it's going to add vast wealth to everybody.
I am looking forward to seeing the first billion-dollar or even trillion-dollar one-man company or one woman, whatever the case may be, because you no longer need a huge headcount to produce the same output with AI.
Well, for sure. But then you get the old thing of, everybody is producing the work of 10. So now 10 people produce the work of 100. So now you need 10 people to produce 105. So, it's just going to be an upward cycle because, back in 1720, when they invented artificial muscles, i.e. the steam engine, that absolutely, exploded the world from 500 million people to 8 billion. And we've just gone through the same process. We've invented artificial brains. And that's going to do for humanity what artificial muscles have done to them over the last 300 years.
Great topic for next time. Thank you, Clem. Happy Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S., and we'll speak soon.
Look forward to it.